Ayanda Masugu. I am the co-founder and director of SV Capital, as you see on the screens. SV Capital is an investment company that focuses on real asset-backed investments. So we've turned a farmer's agricultural assets into investment products. So when you invest with us, you're actually investing in cattle and lamb. And today on stage, I'm actually going to take you through a very cool topic, and I'm taking you through leading with femininity. Now, when I was asked to actually do this talk a couple of weeks back, I was asked what I'd like to title this talk. And in my brain, immediately the title came to mind. I knew what I wanted to talk about, leading with femininity. But to be honest, I thought it would be very easy. I knew exactly what I was going to say. I was going to come on stage, speak my mind, drop mic, walk out. It was going to be great. But unfortunately, that euphoria was short-lived because I actually applied my mind to the topic over the weekend. And I started thinking, what does it actually mean to lead with femininity? And unfortunately, it turned out to be a tougher topic than I thought it initially would be. Now, to kick off this topic or give you some insight into this topic, I'll give you two stories of two female bosses I previously worked for. And they both embodied elements of leadership that fell completely on different ends of the spectrum. So my first boss came into being when I just started my investment banking career. So she was great, if I could say, and she had seen me as a mentee at that point in time. So I'd worked quite closely with her, and I was under her wing, if I could say. And at that point, really, I didn't know what leadership looked like, but more specifically, what female leadership looked like. So working with her, what I saw her bringing to the table was she was a bit aggressive. What came across was aggression, she was emotionless, and she was really part of the boys' club. Now, me raising her aggression, it's not that I'm complaining or anything. I mean, I did work in an aggressive environment with A-type personalities, so I was used to it, and to a certain extent, I had a bit of it in me. And also highlighting her other characteristics, it's not a matter of highlighting how bad they are, but really it's to show you just some of the characteristics that came through from a female leadership at that point in time. And what I realized is, unfortunately, she mimicked male leadership in the industry. What you saw her doing is mimicking male leadership to fit in and be accepted as a leader. And for me, that was quite disappointing because really, I thought there was more to female leadership than that. So I spent a couple of weeks and a very long time having an internal battle about it because I was like, surely this can't be it. There has to be a bit more when we start speaking about female leadership. And at that point in time, luckily, I'd met my second boss. And she harnessed a level of femininity that I was completely thrown off by. So when I met my second boss, I met her when I was a bit more advanced in my investment banking career. When I climbed up the ranks and now I was a bit more stable in my career. And also with her, I worked quite closely with her and I was right under her wing. So I knew exactly what was going on within her portfolio. And what was amazing about her really is that she harnessed this power of femininity and led with such confidence and not being apologetic about being female. Now for me, this was quite interesting because I had seen one end of the spectrum and now I'm seeing another end. And the interesting thing is, she didn't disregard being female and she was running the highest profit-making business in the company. Now that should make you think, is there really a need to move away from some factors that make you female? So me highlighting this to you really, it's not to highlight either as good or bad, but rather to show you that there tends to be different elements that go into leadership and specifically female leadership, and women tend to fall on different ends of the spectrum. So to put all of this in context, I thought I'd use some characters from series I like watching, so you also get a feel and understanding of what I'm really talking about. So on the one end, that being the aggressive corner, I've got Jessica Pearson there and Olivia Pope. Now they embodied characteristics that were very similar to my first boss, very aggressive, taking on a male-dominated persona and trying really to fit in. And then on the other end, I'm not sure how many of you actually watch Queen of the South, but Teresa Mendoza embodied characteristics that were very similar to my second boss. That being leading with compassion, leading with confidence, and actually getting things done, but being aggressive when needed to. And then the third character was Annalise Keating. So I really didn't know where to put her, so I figured you guys, I'll leave that up to you to decide where you want to put her. So in looking at all of this, I felt like I related more to the second type of leadership. where I found that leading with femininity involved leading from a point of confidence, leading from a point of strength, and tapping into your aggression when needed to, but not disregarding your feminine qualities because you're in the workplace. What I found that corporate rarely disregards female qualities and treats them as weaknesses. But what my second boss proved to me is that these qualities are not really weakness, but a strength that can be used in leadership. So what interests me really is now trying to understand, why does the one end of the spectrum dominate so much? And when I started reading a book by Dr. Judy Dlamini titled Women in Business, Women in Leadership, Interview with Women in Leadership Positions in South Africa, I thought her thesis was absolutely amazing. She interviewed female leaders across the country, discussing whether gender, class, and equality played a part in their journey. Now, the interesting thing, what came from those interviews, it found that a lot of these women in powerful positions right now incurred gender, class, and background issues that came through. And they had to endure a tough environment and start breaking ceilings in order for them to be in the positions they're currently in. And you need to keep in mind that they were in a world that believed that males had to be in such positions, or males were the only fit people to be holding such positions. So having gone through those tough periods, they had to take on a persona of male dominance in order for them to lead. Now, when I started reading more on this topic, I read an article recently that was wrote by Majola, a company that is founded and run by a good friend of mine, Nogwazi Mzobe. And if any of you are interested in picking her brain, her store is not so far from here. Now, she cited 4 main reasons why females start businesses, and we're going to go through them now. So the first reason is the fact that a lot of women really didn't have a choice. Now, when looking at the statistics in South Africa, a lot of households in South Africa are run by single mothers that are looking for second jobs or additional income into their family, thus having to take on second jobs. The second quality is equality. Now, this is focused on women who felt that they weren't being valued for their worth, and they were inspired to move out of corporate to move on to entrepreneurship. And what we found is it's a lot of women really that move away from corporate that is still structured on a hierarchical structure and move to entrepreneurship to start building innovative businesses because they feel like they want to be valued. The third factor is sharing and nurturing. Now, the interesting thing about this, leading female entrepreneurs have found that they lead businesses in a nurturing way. They build nurtured, high-performance businesses because it's a natural feminine quality that comes through. And fourthly, it's vision. So women entrepreneurs have been criticized for not having vision. As cited in a popular article written by the Harvard Business Review that says that women really don't have a vision. But in 2016, that article quickly changed his view and realized that a lot of entrepreneurs, specifically here in South Africa, and businesses that are female-led, actually have a long-term vision for their business. And what's better than having a female that has a long-term vision for their business, but brings on that nurturing and caring feature that comes with leading a business? So in highlighting all these 4 factors, we all fall into one or the other factor. And it's about you sitting in your seat and deciding where you fall in. But all the women that fall into this category really have the following commonalities. Firstly, they're feminine and they're unapologetic about it. That they are very strong and nurturing, and they know how to tap into their inner greatness and inner strength. And really, it's all about showing up and sitting at the table. So, what does it really mean to lead with femininity? Well, when looking at the current business landscape, looking at the fact that innovation is a new thing we need to look at and how we change our business to meet innovative needs, looking at the fact that economic climate is making business landscape quite hard to operate in, we need to start looking at how we change leadership and change the mold that has historically put leadership as a very aggressive, dominant type of skill to more of a one that encompasses feminine qualities. Now, I'm going to take you through 4 qualities that I think are quite important, and these qualities have historically been tied to being quite feminine. But actually, when you start looking deeper into this, you find that embodying these qualities really makes for better leadership that is needed in a world where the business environment or landscape is becoming tougher to operate in. So the first one is already up, and that's highly communicative. Now, leaders that communicate quite a bit with their employees achieve more connectedness with their team. They also invoke deeper trust and build greater productivity and accountability in their team. And this is all focused around inclusive conversation, where your team feels like they are part of the conversation and they feel like they can always have an open conversation with their leaders. There's nothing worse than working in a place where you feel like your leader's so far from you and you really can't speak your mind or speak your ideas coming through. The second one is collaboration. And leaders that understand that you need to put your team in a position where everyone is driving towards a shared purpose and value is quite important. Collective brain power is quite important when trying to bring amazing solutions to the table that will set your company apart. And in all honesty, collaboration remains an innovation in my personal opinion. The third factor is forward thinking. And as I mentioned previously, women have been criticized for not being actually forward thinking. But what we're finding is that women are better when it comes to long-term planning, because we're known for actually planning, and we're better at taking on long-term visions for the business. And this is focusing on any leaders that are in a position of leading a team. They take on a persona of looking forward thinking in order for them to be the best leaders possible. And the fourth factor is vulnerability. Now, for those of you who haven't watched Brené Brown, please do yourself a favor. She's got a TED Talk talking about the power of vulnerability. Now, this really focuses on you being able to admit when you're wrong and having humility to admit your mistakes. Now, Brené Brown's talk around vulnerability, it focuses on the power of how being vulnerable actually makes a broader personnel or your team around you more comfortable. This talks about showing up to the table and being comfortable with yourself, thus inevitably making everyone around you more comfortable. And the last factor is compassion. Now, compassion, this is valuing your employees for human beings rather than treating them as people that just need to complete tasks. This is understanding what they have to offer and actually using that to grow the company as a whole. And it's really about bringing everyone behind a collective goal. Now, in encompassing all these factors and thinking back to these factors, leading with femininity really has nothing to do whether it's about male or female, but rather it's about focusing on these 5 qualities that are highlighted that will change the landscape of leadership. It's about using these qualities, be it both male or females, to start changing how leadership is done in our businesses, but also as small businesses, we change how the world operates. As I mentioned, historically, the world is still in a position of acclimatizing to female leaders. And it makes no sense for us to take on a persona of replicating the current male leadership that we currently see. And what we need to take away as females is to understand that sometimes these qualities are actually already in us. And we just need to tap into our already amazing qualities that we embody and bring those leadership qualities into our businesses. And for the males sitting in the room, I'd ask that you learn a couple of new traits along the way, so we're all really working towards building high-performing and amazing businesses. Thank you.